You walk around this building and everyone is so supportive and so excited about what is happening with the Fever.
The Indiana Fever locker room is a ticking time bomb, and the fuse may have just been ignited by their own general manager, Lynn Dunn. The chaos surrounding Caitlin Clark, the vicious cheap shots, the visible on-court tension, the non-stop media frenzy isn't some sudden, isolated issue. It's part of a pattern. A shadow that has lingered over the franchise for years. A shadow that once derailed a promising era and now threatens to do the same all over again. And in a shocking turn, the GM's recent public comments, intended to ease concerns, may have unintentionally validated the very rumors and conspiracies the organization has spent nearly a decade trying to suppress. She unknowingly reopened a years-old mystery that now directly connects to Caitlin Clark's future, exposing a disturbing truth about why a star coach mysteriously disappeared and why Clark herself may eventually face the exact same impossible dilemma. This goes far beyond one flagrant foul or a rough stretch of games. It's about a long history of dysfunction that has now been dragged into the spotlight for the entire world to witness, and every bit of it traces back to a resignation that, until now, never truly added up. The pressure inside Indiana has officially reached a boiling point. Every time Caitlin Clark steps onto the court, it stops being just another basketball game. It becomes a national spectacle, a cultural battleground dissected and debated at a level the WNBA has never experienced before. Everyone remembers the moment that ignited the firestorm, Chennedy Carter delivering that blindsided off-ball hip check. It wasn't viewed as just another foul. It instantly became a symbol, a public declaration of the quiet war many believe is being waged against the league's newest superstar. But as explosive as that moment was, it merely sparked a fire that had already been burning underneath the surface. Since then, the narrative has spiraled completely out of control. Former NBA legends on national television, online analysts studying game footage frame by frame, and fans across social media have all reached a similar conclusion. Clark is being intentionally targeted by veterans, resentful of her overnight fame, massive endorsement deals, and the overwhelming spotlight attached to her every move. The discussion has consumed broadcasts, podcasts, and social platforms alike, creating a level of pressure that could break even seasoned professional athletes. And while the public focuses heavily on the opponents coming after her, a far more unsettling question has started to emerge about what's happening inside her own locker room. Rumors of a fractured team environment, once brushed aside as internet gossip, have grown louder and louder, painting the image of a team struggling not only to win, but to support the player who matters most. Viral moments of teammates hesitating to help her off the floor or setting weak, ineffective screens have only intensified the speculation. Yet, as new as this controversy may seem, it's really just another chapter in a story the franchise hoped people had forgotten long ago. Long before Caitlin Clark arrived as the franchise savior, there was Stephanie White, the hometown icon. In Indiana basketball circles, Stephanie White's name carries legendary status. She became a star before ever reaching the professional level, earning the state's prestigious Miss Basketball honor before leading Purdue University to national success. Eventually, she returned home once again, this time as head coach of the Fever. And in her very first season leading the team in 2015, she accomplished what many thought was impossible. She orchestrated a remarkable underdog run all the way to the WNBA Finals in an unforgettable 5-game series that captivated the league. She was brilliant, tactically gifted, young, and adored by both fans and players alike. Everything pointed toward her becoming the long-term face of the franchise, the perfect leader to guide the team into a new era. She had every quality you could want in a franchise coach: basketball intelligence, the trust of the locker room, and the unwavering support of the city behind her. Her future in Indiana didn't just look promising, it looked untouchable, and then, almost overnight, she vanished. The announcement shocked the basketball world. Fans and insiders alike were left asking the exact same question: why would she leave? The official explanation claimed Stephanie White was voluntarily stepping down as head coach of the Indiana Fever to take over the women's basketball program at Vanderbilt University. Publicly, it was presented as an exciting personal opportunity and a fresh new challenge. But to anyone familiar with the sports world, the decision made absolutely no sense. It was undeniably a major step backward professionally. Coaches spend decades fighting for the chance to lead a professional team, especially one they had just taken to the WNBA finals. Walking away from that role for a college rebuilding project was almost unheard of. What made the entire situation even stranger was the timing. The announcement didn't come during the offseason like most coaching changes. Instead, it landed right in the middle of the 2016 season, instantly clouding the franchise with confusion and turning White into a lame duck coach overnight. The move felt so irrational that speculation exploded immediately. People became convinced there had to be another story hidden beneath the polished corporate explanation. The official statement felt flimsy, almost insulting in how little it actually explained. The departure was abrupt, deeply out of character, and professionally illogical, creating a mystery that has quietly followed the WNBA for nearly a decade. And now, because of the massive pressure surrounding Caitlin Clark, that old mystery is finally resurfacing. This is where Lynn Dunn unintentionally changes everything. In several recent interviews meant to calm the growing controversy around Caitlin Clark, Dunn spoke extensively about how difficult it is to build a winning culture around a transformational superstar. She discussed the challenges of integrating a generational talent into an already established roster and stressed how essential it is for every player to fully buy in. She talked about accountability, leadership from veteran players, and the enormous pressure that comes with nonstop national attention. On the surface, those comments sounded like standard executive talking points, harmless corporate language meant to reassure the public that everything remained under control. But to people familiar with the Fever's past, those statements carried a far deeper and far more troubling implication. But for the people who still remember the unanswered questions surrounding the Stephanie White saga, those comments sound less like harmless PR and more like a smoking gun. They feel like an outright confession. Dunn may think she's addressing the Caitlin Clark situation in the present day, but what she's really done is unintentionally confirm the exact same toxic internal problems that were rumored to exist back in 2016. When she talks about balancing superstar personalities and how fragile locker room chemistry can become, she's essentially giving modern language to the whispers that have surrounded White's shocking exit for years. What was meant to be damage control for today's controversy has instead validated the darkest suspicions about the Fever's troubled past. So, what actually happened behind closed doors? What truly pushed a hometown hero and one of the league's brightest coaching minds out of what should have been her dream job? For years, the quiet rumors and off-the-record conversations have all pointed toward one explosive issue, a deeply political and impossible internal power struggle. Back in 2016, the unquestioned leader of the Fever locker room was Tamika Catchings, the legendary superstar beginning her farewell season. And while Catchings remains one of the greatest and most respected figures the sport has ever seen, managing the final chapter of a living legend's career while simultaneously trying to install a new system and prepare for the future is an impossible balancing act for any coach. According to years of speculation from insiders, Stephanie White's modern coaching style, her offensive philosophy, and her long-term vision for the franchise may have clashed with the established veteran power structure inside the locker room. It was the classic collision between the old guard and the next generation. Many around the league quietly believed White never received the complete support she needed from the front office to make difficult but necessary decisions. She was an elite young coach trapped in a no-win situation, caught between a beloved superstar nearing retirement and a management group that seemed unwilling to fully empower her authority. Faced with constant internal politics and feeling unsupported from the top down, she ultimately made the only decision she believed would protect both her sanity and her future. She walked away. She chose a less prestigious role where she could maintain full control rather than remain trapped in a dysfunctional environment she knew she couldn't fix. Now fast forward to the present and the similarities become impossible to ignore. Once again, the Indiana Fever have a generational superstar in Caitlin Clark, a player who represents not only the future of the franchise, but arguably the future of the entire league itself. And once again, there are growing reports of tension with veteran teammates and serious concerns surrounding the chemistry inside the locker room. Current head coach Christy Sides now appears trapped in a situation eerily similar to the one Stephanie White faced years earlier. She's expected to manage the biggest star in basketball, survive an endless media circus, and somehow keep winning games, all while potentially navigating internal jealousy and a roster that doesn't appear fully united. When Lynn Dunn discusses the challenges of this era, she is essentially admitting that the organization is once again battling the exact same cultural problems that existed before. They failed to create an environment where a talented coach like Stephanie White could truly succeed, and now there are growing signs they may be failing to create the right environment for Caitlin Clark as well. The issue is never just one coach or one player. It appears to be something much deeper, a systemic cultural flaw that continues resurfacing whenever the franchise enters a major turning point. Revisiting Stephanie White's mysterious resignation now feels less like revisiting old history and more like uncovering a warning sign for Caitlin Clark's future. It exposes what looks like a disturbing organizational pattern. The Fever may have a long-standing inability to properly handle moments of massive transition and opportunity. They once had a championship-caliber coach in Stephanie White and allegedly lost her because they could not manage internal politics or provide the unwavering support she needed. Now they possess a once-in-a-generation commercial and basketball superstar in Caitlin Clark, and those same cracks are beginning to appear all over again. If the franchise allows this internal tension to keep growing, if they fail to establish a strong and lasting support system around their franchise player, then history could repeat itself in catastrophic fashion. Clark may currently be tied to a rookie contract, but in the modern era of player empowerment, that guarantees nothing long-term. If this environment remains toxic, if the rumors of resentment continue escalating into a full-scale locker room crisis, and if management once again proves incapable of addressing the root issue, then eventually the question becomes unavoidable. How long before Clark and the people around her start exploring an exit strategy? The pattern suggests the real issue has never been the talent entering the building. It's the environment the organization creates or fails to create once that talent arrives. At its core, the endless drama surrounding Caitlin Clark is no longer just a story about a rookie struggling through a difficult first season. It has reopened a nearly decade-old mystery and exposed what many now see as a troubling pattern of dysfunction inside the Indiana Fever franchise. The general manager's attempt to explain the challenges of the present has, ironically, revealed uncomfortable truths about the past. For many people, it confirms that Stephanie White's departure was never simply a career decision, but rather an escape from an impossible and unsupported situation. The same combination of internal conflict, crushing external pressure, and questionable organizational leadership that once drove away a brilliant coach now appears to be surrounding a generational superstar player. And that leaves one final, terrifying question hanging over the future of the sport itself. Is the greatest danger to Caitlin Clark's historic career not the opponents attacking her on the court, but the very organization whose jersey she wears?